Is your bracket already busted?
Oh yeah. I mean, Derek, we chose our favorites or our Cinderella favorites and our winners, and both of them have lost. So my Just Your Opinion Man bracket is busted. My regular bracket is busted, and the one at work, everything. It's all screwed.
Yeah, you're busting all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Busting makes you feel good.
Yep.
Yeah, I chose St. John's to go to the Final Four, so that's gone.
Yep.
I still have Michigan State winning the whole thing, so that's keeping my bracket somewhat alive. But besides that, yeah, it's kaput.
Yep. Done.
And what I have for the fun one, I think I said St. Mary's and McNeese and Lipscomb. St. Mary's survived. I think they're playing later today against Alabama. But yeah, besides that, I'm not doing too hot, which is understandable because I don't watch college basketball. So, well, I never understand the people that don't watch and then somehow have a good bracket, or the people that can pay attention to this all year long. Like I don't know, like the people that what's the guy that usually does like bracketology shit? Ken Powell or something like that. Whatever it is. People study this shit and even they get it wrong. So there's no rhyme or reason to any of this stuff. It's just the luck of March Madness.
Sure. But I do feel bad for the people that actually do watch this stuff. It's like, and I love you, man, when Jon Favreau's getting all pissed because Paul Rudd's character keeps winning, even though he's never played poker before.
The fucking rainbow flop.
The fucking rainbow road flop.
Dude, the best part is when he's covered in vomit. He's like, just get out. It's not funny. Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Wait, Beatles, Stones. All right, everybody.
Fuck
1,
you.
2, 3. Yeah.
You have a piano in your house. Decorator, put it there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like that though. It's the person that's never played poker and ends up just keeps winning because that's how it goes with poker. That's the same thing with March Madness.
Yeah, but it's total crapshoot. Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We're coming to you live Sunday morning, and we do have a good game going on right now between Florida and UConn. I actually picked UConn to advance.
Nice.
But I don't know if that really matters at this point because my bracket's to shit. And we haven't really had a lot of craziness in the first round. I guess the biggest upset was probably like McNeese, winning their game against, I forget who they even played. But besides that, it was really, chalky. It was the higher seeds advancing.
Yeah.
Not really a lot of crazy upsets. I remember a year ago, I think we had Princeton knocking off Arizona.
Yeah.
And then Princeton knocking off Mizzou. So besides that, not a lot of craziness. Not a lot of madness this March.
Here you go. You got it out. Not a lot, man. There's no this year there. I mean, I guess McNeese is that school, but there's no Farley Dickinson, that random 16 seed that I think made it all the way to the Sweet 16 or something like that. I think they won the first 2 games. And then there's no, Furman with that crazy buzzer beater to tie it at least, where Kevin Harlan had one of the greatest calls ever. Like, did we see what I just think we just saw? That kind of thing. There hasn't really been much of that so far, which is kind of sad.
No, not really that crazy.
There's been a lot of chances to tie the game with threes, but it just hasn't happened yet. I think there's been 3 games where it's come down to the final shot, and they just haven't got it. Like last night we had Gonzaga. I even forgot who they played already. Gonzaga failed to make the game tying 3 late in the game. It was just down to free throws against wasn't Louisville, was it?
I got you.
I think it was Houston. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, it was Houston because the head coach Kelvin. Don't call him Kevin.
I don't know.
Did you see that? Did you see that whole thing where someone called him Gonzaga and he was like, "Stop right now. It's Gonzaga, okay? Gonzaga." I hate that. Like he was on the report about how they were mispronouncing it, and he's like, "It's like the same thing with me. My name's not Kevin. It's Kelvin." It's like a whole he was like just chastising the media for how they pronounce. I forget the way he wanted it. It was either Gonzaga or Gonzaga, but in his mind, you call people out when they mispronounce a school name. It's
got to be he was calling people out for pronouncing it Gonzaga. He had to have been because I'm like 99% sure it's pronounced Gonzaga.
Gonzaga or Gonzaga?
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of these. I've been not covering, but I've at least been reporting on a lot of these St. Mary's versus Gonzaga games for KCBS. And I was told explicitly it's not Gonzaga.
Okay, hang on. I just want to double check because this guy was definitely a stickler for how you pronounce it. Hold on.
Exactly, Tacky. They call them the Zags, not the Zogs.
Exactly. So hold on. He was getting on. Let me see if I can find the clip of him going crazy here. Wasn't that crazy? He was just like, hang on. Whenever
do you know any Kelvins?
Yeah, probably. Hang on. Here we go. Wait, no, that's not it. God damn it! I can't find this thing.
Okay, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a post game. I found a post game clip. I'm going to play that, and we're just going to see how he pronounces.
All right, fine.
The school. All right, because you clearly weren't prepared, Derek.
Oh, I know. We were bringing up this topic, and my pull-up game's not as good as yours.
All right.
Stop and congratulate Mark Few and Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
He said Gonzaga.
Okay.
Hang on. One more time.
But you know what? Let's stop and congratulate Mark Few and Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. He said Gonzaga.
Yeah, but he made a whole thing about it. Hang on. I want to find this fucking clip. Okay, here we go. Wait, no, that's not it either. Damn it. Can I find? Okay, here we go. Oh, I got it. All right, hold on. Here we go. Everybody calm down. I got it.
This podcast is going great.
Swimmingly. Okay, here we go.
The ability to get your regulars some to pull them early yesterday, given that you won't have many of those opportunities later, how important was that, especially for maybe someone like JYOM? And if I could sneak in, didn't you try to get a game with Gonzaga in 2021?
Gonzaga.
Always
burns me up when people say that. You know, calling me Kevin. My name is not Kevin. My mother used to say, people would see my name and say, "Hey, Kevin," and she would say, "Don't let people call you Kevin. Your name is Kelvin. Make sure they pronounce your name right." So that's why my antennas go up with that. Same with Gonzaga. They were our neighbors. It's not Spokane and it's not Gonzaga. It's Gonzaga and it's Spokane. Go ahead.
I like to think that when there's like a name mispronunciation anywhere, his antennas go up.
As you should, because Kelvin, close enough to Kevin.
Yeah.
I hope like Kevon Looney does the same thing when people call him Kevin Looney.
Man, no, we're past that, aren't we?
Not recently, no.
Are we still doing the Kevin Looney thing?
There was a recent broadcast where he was called Kevin Looney.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Locally?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Who called him Kevin?
It was Jenny Kavnar on the that broadcast. They did a fine job, but just it was Kevon Looney, not Kevin Looney.
Yeah. See, Ernie's right. Imagining him listening to Just Your Opinion, man. Yeah, if you listen to this damn show, it's like,
yeah, he would be a pain in the ass the whole time. Be like, Derek, stop. You've mispronounced so many names right now. It's like, Kevin, I'm on a roll. Don't call me Kevin.
Every Sunday morning and every Wednesday night, Kelvin's antennas go up because of a name mispronunciation.
Yeah, Pateki just hit the nail on the coffin there, or hit the nail on the coffin. Hit the nail on the head here.
Oh, geez.
That fool would hate Derek. Well done, Tacky.
Have you seen the student manager from McNeese?
The what?
The student manager.
Yeah, was he the guy that all the cheerleaders were wearing socks of?
Yes, Amir Khan. His nickname is Aura. Did you see what happened? The coolest thing I think to come out of this. I love it. I love it when kind of the everyman gets success, right? That's what we gravitate towards nowadays. It's not so much like the guys with, like people who are conventionally supposed to be like stars. We always kind of, for whatever reason, we've never really looked at the everyman that way. But Amir is that everyman,
especially when you get love from the cheerleaders.
Hell yeah, hell yeah! And he became the first student manager in history to get an NIL deal. How cool is that?
What?
Yeah, he's got 3 of them.
3 NIL deals.
Yeah.
What is he sponsoring?
Buffalo Wild Wings, Insomnia Cookies, and what's the other one? I gotta find
Well, that's a
it.
difference.
Yeah, there's like literally. I love how he's treating this as if he's an athlete, because more people need love rather than the athletes. There's a lot of behind the scenes figures who make things possible. Yeah. Buffalo Wild Wings is one.
Hold on, he's gonna do like national commercials for Buffalo Wild Wings.
Maybe. Tick Pick is the other one. That's right. Tick Pick.
That's dicey. Okay.
And Insomnia Cookies.
Are those like edibles?
No, they're just cookies.
Do they help you go to sleep?
No, dude, they're cookies. It's just the company's called Insomnia. There's no like special meaning behind it.
Well, why would they call it insomnia then?
I don't know.
That would be great for like gummies, like taking like a cookie with some weed in it that makes you crash. Some indica cookies.
Yeah. It's Insomnia put out a yearly reminder. They do not contain any THC, melatonin, CBD, or any other drug.
You see, that's a misleading product. With the name Insomnia Cookies, I'm sorry, I know that the insomnia part doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't it?
Right.
Well, props to that guy.
Okay.
I don't know many ball boys in the NFL that are getting sponsorship deals.
You actually bring me to this, Derek. I'm going all over the place, dude.
Yes, you are.
I'm all over. You remind me. You know, edible arrangements.
Of course.
Yeah, edible arrangements. They bring the nice little fruit bouquets or something of that nature. They'll have like
fruit basket.
Yeah, chocolate covered
primarily for like Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very popular for birthdays and everything. Like, get an edible arrangement, right?
Yeah.
Well, the company is now, oh gosh, it's behind a paywall. They're selling edibles, legit THC infused edibles now, and THC infused drinks.
As they should.
A defining moment. How it feels like that makes sense. That's like a marriage.
No, totally.
It's a marriage waiting to happen.
With a name like that, it makes sense for them to sell those products. That's why Insomnia Cookies missed the boat here.
Edibles.com. That's all you got to do.
Yep. There you go.
What are we going to be brought to you by Edible Arrangements?
Dude, we'll take any sponsorship we could get. I'll gladly endorse Insomnia Cookies while this he's an equipment manager, this guy?
Student manager. He said the reason he went viral is because he said that if they tracked stats for grabbing rebounds at practice and wiping the floors so there's no more slippage on the court, he'd be putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
On or off the court?
Hopefully just on. I don't want to picture it off.
I don't know, man. He's got all these cheerleaders wearing socks.
You never know.
With his face on it.
You never know, man. It's pretty cool. It's just like I looked it
Casa
up.
Nova, this guy is.
It's not a small school by any stretch, but like everyone, whenever they think of, Louisiana, they think LSU. That's automatically where their mind goes.
Of course.
McNeese is in the Southwest region. It's in Lake Charles, which is a pretty big place. It's not that I'm not going to act like it's like some tiny school. It's a pretty big school. It's really cool, I think, that he's getting this shine.
Well, we got a dandy going right now. It's all tied up 64-64 right now with 152 left between UConn and Florida.
Yeah.
I was watching.
We got Alex Condon at the free throw line. No,
Condon his name?
Oh, sorry. It's Condon. Kelvin's antennas just went up. It's Condon. Sorry.
Not to confuse with John
Condon.
Condon. Close enough to Condo. I did enjoy watching St. John's and Arkansas yesterday. It was basically the battle of sleaze bags.
Yeah. Battle of made men.
Yep. The battle of made men. Who's got the greasier hair between Rick Pitino and John Calipari? And Arkansas prevails. That's why my bracket has been busted. And besides the tourney and some Warriors and a little bit of baseball, we'll get to it all today, but not a lot going on in sports right now, I would say, Steven. Kind of slow.
No, not really, but it really is all about March Madness. Like, as far as talking about it and talking at length, there's not a ton going on. I know we're going to talk like quite a bit about what's going on in the NFL, the latest with Purdy and Rodgers and all that, but I kind of think those are, I'm not saying they're nothing burgers. They mean something, but it also feels like we are just grasping for anything football related right now.
No, I hear you because, it's hard for the NFL to go away. They never want to go away 100%. They'll pop up in June, July. There's not a lot going NFL wise until training camp starts. So that's when I think usually the Adam Schefters, the Rappaports, the big dogs, the NFL media game go on vacation.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically all these, national shows need to incorporate football in somehow. And so that's why Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen and, of course, Pat McAfee every day want an update on Aaron Rodgers. And I get it. It's just there is nothing. Now, we did have something on Friday. And you were right to be very skeptical of the whole damn thing. But when I saw the report, I think it was from Jerry Duloc and Tom Pelissero and everybody saying that Rodgers was meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was like, okay, this is going to end finally. Please just get in the building and fucking sign already.
Yeah.
And I think you tweeted something along the lines of headline tomorrow is going to be Aaron Rodgers checks out the what's the restaurant in Pittsburgh? The Lube and Steak.
Quaker Steak and Lube, dude.
There you go. Quaker Steak and Lube. He goes home. And pretty much that's what happened. We don't know about the Quaker Steak and Lube with Rodgers.
Yeah.
But he spent a grand total of 6 hours at the Steelers facility, talked to Mike Tomlin.
Trust me, it's trust. And I know, I'm sorry to interrupt, but trust me, Quaker Steak and Lube, if we ever go to Pittsburgh, if we ever take this podcast to Pittsburgh, that's where we got to go. That's
the goal one day.
It has really, really good wings. It's like their version of like Smoke Eaters, except it's a lot more blue collar.
Gotcha.
As we like to describe everything in Pittsburgh.
You been to Pittsburgh?
Never been, but I've heard about it, and I've watched it on TV. I forgot who went there. I don't know if it was Guy Fieri or whoever it was, but my friend's dad, who's from Pittsburgh, wore a Quaker Steak and Lube shirt, and then I saw it on TV, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta go! Oh, you gotta go! That place is unbelievable."
If I don't pronounce Guy Fieri's name the way you just did it, what was it, Guy Fieri? What the hell did you say?
Fieri. Just pretend it's a D instead of an R.
Oh, I got you. Can I just call him Guy Fieri?
If you want, until you talk to him, then he's going to tell you, much like Kelvin and his antennas, guys' antennas are going to go up and he's going to say, he's not even going to correct you, but he knows in his head it's Fieri. I learned that on Hot Ones.
Okay, hold on. Guy Fieri?
Fieri.
Fieri?
Yeah, just as if it's like
Fieri.
Yeah, there you go. Come on. You're good at pronouncing D's.
Yeah, I know. It's just weird when that letter's not in his name altogether.
Pretend that the R is a T. How about that?
Thank you, Steve.
Hard T.
Yeah. Guy Fieri. I don't know. So fucking weird.
Yeah, I know. But that's how he likes it. That's how he pronounces it. Guy Fieri.
All right. I'll remember that going forward. He's a big Warrior fan, so if I ever do end up interviewing him, I'll definitely get the pronunciation down. But
him and Steve Mariucci playing bocce ball at that one bocce ball event held by Jack Del Rio.
Where was that? In
Fremont.
Fremont, that's right. Yeah, you came out for that, and when we hung out with who was a kicker at the time?
Giorgio Tavecchio.
Giorgio Tavecchio. Yep.
I'm just happy to be here, Giorgio. He was just so happy to be there, man. I love Giorgio.
Yeah, I think the only two Raiders that showed up were Giorgio Tavecchio and Obi Melifonwu.
No, there were others there.
There were other ones?
Gary and Conley was there. Khalil Mack and Derek Carr went straight to the private room.
Okay.
They didn't even stop to talk to anybody. They just went straight back.
What was that, 2017? Because I remember, I want to say the Raiders just beat the Dolphins and Obi Melifonwu had an okay game. And then the next day, we went to that bocce ball tournament where we're doing a live broadcast. I mean, the highlight was John Madden coming over and hanging with my pops at Bonte and doing an interview. That was awesome all time.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Okay, but back to the Steelers and the Rodgers. Yeah, nothing happened. They talked for 6 hours and then he left. And I guess that was always going to be the case where he was going to meet with them, but not sign a contract or anything. Just get to know them, get to know the Steelers, and get to know their coaching staff, Arthur Smith. And it sounds like something's going to materialize the next couple of days here. Who the fuck knows, though? I mean, I'm planning on Rodgers signing with the Steelers. Mm-hmm. Why would he show up if he's not interested, it makes sense for him to fly all the way out there, and we'll see if he has a meet and greet with the New York Giants. But from everything that I saw on Friday, no one's surprised he didn't sign the contract. But everybody would be surprised if he did not end up signing with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially since my wish was granted, and Jameis is now a New York Giant.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful
Eating
thing.
W's.
And Annie Agar had, I think, like the best tweet of the whole thing, where she said Malik Neighbors is going to walk away this season with 2,000 yards receiving and 4 wins.
Yep, basically.
But no, dude, I think it's gonna. Okay, let's just say this: what if it doesn't happen? What do you think's the next course here? Because I got my theory on what'll happen if he doesn't end up signing with the Steelers.
Well, first off, do you think it's going to happen?
I mean, I think, of course I do. Like, there's no other option. Where else are we going to go here? It's like the Vikings are apparently moving on. The Giants are a no-go.
Yeah.
And the Steelers were the only team left. If they don't.
He could retire, but then again, why would he fly all the way out there if he wasn't interested?
Well, because he has all the time in the world, Derek. He has a lot of money. He has a lot of capabilities. It's not like you and me where we got to plan out like when we're going to fly to the East Coast a month in advance just so we could save up enough cash just to survive. But I do think here's what's going to happen. If he doesn't end up signing, this is what's going to go down. Rodgers is going to retire, and then next year he's going to unretire. That's what's going to happen. He's going to come back into the NFL. He's had a year off. He's ready for a return. I guarantee you that's what happened if he doesn't sign this season.
A year-long darkness retreat?
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. And I think if he was going to retire, I don't think he would be shown. Maybe. I don't know. Who the hell knows when it comes to Aaron Rodgers?
Type of guy to come back just a year after. I think he absolutely would, dude.
He probably would if. I mean, I could see him playing this season and then next year seeing what goes down with J.J. McCarthy and then being so intrigued by the Vikings and trying to find a way to sign with them.
Yeah.
Like if McCarthy doesn't cut out this season and, then the Vikings are kind of, second guessing their decision and they're interested in Aaron Rodgers again, then he probably would be into that.
Right.
I'm going to assume that he signs with the Steelers, and I think it's going to happen in the next couple of days here. I'm hoping. This is all my hope. Obviously, things could change, and I was expecting him to sign a couple weeks ago. But from everything that we heard on Friday, everyone's expecting this to happen. I think Justina Anderson had like a cryptic tweet last night being like, things are going to happen in the North this season, and I really don't know what the hell that means, but I'm assuming it has to do with Aaron Rodgers. So if I had to guess, I say he signs the next couple of days here. He signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just because Jameis signed with the Giants doesn't mean anything to me. I still think they want to have a lot of quarterbacks. I think Russell Wilson ends up with the Giants. And then I think the Browns find a way to trade for Kirk Cousins. If it's like a 4th-round pick and the Falcons take on most of that salary, I think that's what's going to be the quarterback movement, hopefully before the draft.
Why does Kirk Cousins and the Browns feel, I mean, I've said the word marriage already twice in this podcast, but why does that feel like a perfect marriage? I don't know why.
Kevin Stefanski.
Well, not that, but just Kirk Cousins. When you think of Kirk Cousins, you don't really think champion, but you think about a guy who's been in the NFL for a long time, maybe a respected quarterback. I don't know if the Browns are really a respected franchise ever, but it just feels like this franchise that has just never won anything is going to go in the direction of a quarterback who's never won anything. Though according to Trump, he's a future Hall of Famer.
That is true.
Yeah.
So then what do you think about Russell Wilson then? You think he's going to the Giants?
I don't know what's going to happen with Russell. I could see him retiring, man.
No, he wants to, I mean, he sounds like he wants to play more than Rodgers does.
Yeah.
And he's getting antsy where it's like, why am I waiting on this guy? And it sucks. Like the Giants and Browns are like, we got to wait for Rodgers to make his move, and then we'll do your deal.
Yeah. I don't really know where he's gonna. I don't know where anyone's gonna go. But I guess that sounds like it could happen too. I don't. The Russell Wilson thing, I don't know. Like I'll just flat out say I don't know. I don't have any prediction on that. I don't really care where he goes, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like any of these moves, like when free agency started, these were all my guesses. I didn't know what Rodgers was going to do. I figured Russell Wilson would sign back with the Steelers, and I thought that eventually Kirk Cousins would get cut and he would sign with the Browns. this was like not like the A-list thing in free agency, but now it's the only thing we have left. So that's what we're waiting on. And it's all quarterbacks. These 3 quarterbacks were really good quarterbacks at one point in time, and now not the case. They're at the tail ends of their careers, and they'll play maybe 1 or 2 seasons left. And they're big names still. So that's just what we're waiting on right now.
Right.
Those moves. But if I had to guess, I'll say, Aaron, by the time you and I do a podcast with Walter on Tuesday, I think the Rodgers will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. That's my guess.
I have a question about Winston, Jameis. Like, obviously he was picked number 1 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if we have to even like attach some form of a label, but you don't want to put him as a bust. You don't want to say that was a bust as a first round pick, but he definitely didn't have the career success that a first round or a first overall pick should. So what do we put Jameis as? Like, as a number 1 overall pick? It feels like we're always with the boomer bust type of thing in that. It's like either a number 1 overall guy completely flails or ends up turning their respective franchise around and eventually might perform like a number 1 overall pick a la Baker Mayfield. But what do you think?
Well, it's not only him. Remember who went 2nd overall in that draft?
Wasn't it Mariota?
Yep. So both of them now are backups. I would say they're not busts, but for what they were, hyped up to be, they did not live up to expectations. So in that regard, I guess you could say they are busts.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really want to call them a bust, though.
Well, they're still playing in the NFL. Like,
that's the thing.
Yeah, like you have to think of like other guys that went 1st overall. Like Matthew Stafford panned out. He won a Super Bowl and he lived up to expectations.
Right.
These guys, I mean, shit, you look at 2021 draft and you could say all those guys are busts because we don't even know what their careers are going to be. Trey Lance could be out of the league. Zach Wilson is now – that's the thing. Like Zach Wilson, you would say he's a bust right now, right? But his career might be the same as that of Jameis Winston, where he's just a career backup the rest of his life. So
maybe
it's tough. I would say they were – how about this? They were disappointments but not busts.
Yeah. I think I'd go meh. Just meh.
They're meh?
Yeah. Meh.
They had mid careers. But yeah. But we think of Jameis Winston totally different than Marcus Mariota. We think of Marcus Mariota being like the guy that doesn't want to work hard.
Right.
Because out of anybody having like a bad reputation from that quarterback show, I think it would be Marcus Mariota now.
Yeah.
Now we think of Jameis Winston, even though he's a pick 6 machine, we love him because he gives us goofy ass quotes.
Right. Right. So I don't really and Baker Mayfield, like I think there's still a lot of time left for
Baker. He's still a starter in the league. Yeah.
He's still a starter. He's only 29 years old. Like I think we got to give him more of a grace period here, but I think it's kind of over for guys like Jameis and Marcus. Obviously Jared Goff was not a bust.
No.
So that's been made clear. So I don't know. He's done well. Like he obviously went to the Super Bowl with the Rams, and then he's done what he's done with the Lions. I know they haven't had the postseason success, but he's still helped turn that franchise around, though, and breathe some life into them. So it's interesting. Like they're not really busts. They're not your typical conventional busts. Just meh.
Yeah. Like I would say Jadeveon Clowney, disappointment, meh.
Yeah.
But not a bust.
Nah.
Had a long career, but I would say Khalil Mack turned out to be a better pro than Jadeveon Clowney was.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yep.
No doubt.
So, yeah, it's just because of the first pick moniker. Like, that will stay with them the rest of their career.
What about Chase Young?
Chase Young go 2nd overall?
Did he go first?
No, it was, what was that, 2019?
Oh, that's right. He went the same route. Oh, that's
right.
No,
it was 2020. So it went Joe Burrow, Chase Young.
That's right. Okay. That's right. 2nd overall.
I would say disappointment. He's meh. Even though he just picked up a big contract with the Saints, he did not pan out what we expected him to be. We expected him to be Nick Bosa, and he has been that guy.
Yes, Tacky, believe it or not, Clowney is still playing. He's around.
Panthers?
I don't know where he's at now.
Yeah, I think he's on Carolina. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about the Niners and Brock
You are
Purdy.
correct.
And what's that?
You're correct, sir.
On the Panthers?
Yep.
And it looks like Florida is moving on too. So that screws up my bracket even more now. So yeah, Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Well, before I get to that, did you see John Lynch spoke to Matt Barrows for a little bit of time at the Stanford Pro Day?
I did.
And I love his quote where he said, well, there's this thing called the draft. And like he was talking about the plan for the 49ers this offseason, and John Lynch goes, there's this thing called the draft, and we got to, hit it. We got to hit a lot of pieces in the draft. I just love the way he phrased that. There's this thing called the draft. Like, we don't know that's a thing. Of course we know that's a thing, John. We know, we're aware of the draft, but you're relying on so many different things in the draft. You're relying on offensive line. You're relying on defensive line play. You're relying on linebackers. You're relying on secondary. That's just a lot to rely on for rookies. So I hear you. There's this thing called the draft, but let's be honest too then. Your expectations for a Super Bowl are probably diminished because you're relying on so many rookies to help you out this season.
That's exactly that's exactly how I read into it. I think anything we've learned from this offseason, especially with just how we've talked about them, is that you can't build a Super Bowl contender with rookies. Like, you want established players if you want a Super Bowl contender. That's why I wanted them to go after Jonathan Allen, because I think they needed an established defensive tackle. Sure, you can take a swing on one with the 11th overall pick, but there's no sure thing that player is going to pan out. So I know Allen's dealt with injuries and all those things, but yeah, that to me, that's a signal like, okay, so you're planning on winning a couple of years from now, maybe not this year, maybe next season, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Like, that's what you do. You don't build a Super Bowl contender through the draft. It's just not how it works. He knows that.
It's when you have a lot of established players that you can add with rookies. Like, that's what the Eagles did this season. Like, they hit the lottery when they drafted Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and didn't realize that those two rookies would play like, all pros when it comes to secondary. And now, since they've proven themselves, they'll be the guys going forward. And that's why they were able to release Darius Slay and trade away CJ Gardner-Johnson. So the Niners are hoping for the same thing, but there's just so many things you got to rely on. Like, yeah, they have established players on the roster, but to rely on rookies to block for Brock Purdy, I don't love that. To rely on a lot of your defensive line through the draft and a guy opposite Nick Bosa, both of your starting defensive tackles, I assume, will be rookies. Your linebacking core, another corner. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of growing pains. At the same time, you look at their schedule, and it's favorable for the 49ers.
Sure.
However, things change. Teams that are shitty last year improve. So that's, it's easier, said than done when it comes to the Niners having a great schedule this upcoming year. But, yeah, I think they're relying on the draft a little bit too much. I've heard, like, other rumors, like Larry Krueger was throwing this one out there. They could trade for Bryce Huff, who was the guy that didn't pan out with the Eagles last year. He was with the Jets with Robert Saleh. They gave him a huge contract. The thing is, do the 49ers want to take on all that salary? I mean, they can. They have the cap space. So there are little pieces that they can do here or there. They haven't chosen to really do anything. They picked up a few guys, DeMarcus Robinson and Richie Grant, and a lot of, mid-level players, a lot of guys that you probably, know their name but don't know how they've done in their career. So yeah, we'll see how things pan out in the draft. But as far as Brock Purdy and the contract, Mike Garafolo was on NFL Network either Thursday or Friday talking about how things are going, and basically he said, like, nothing will get done until the Niners meet a number that that Brock Purdy and his representation find appropriate. And basically he was comparing it to Dak Prescott and what Dak Prescott got. And it was 4 for 24 for 231 guaranteed. So basically then, they're waiting for the Niners to hit that number in that ballpark. And I think they should do something in that ballpark. I do believe that Brock Purdy deserves that type of contract. Should he get it? I don't know. Like, that's the whole argument we're having here of what quarterbacks deserve, should the elite ones really make most of the money? Like, if you look at it, Trevor Lawrence, like I look at the contracts of Trevor Lawrence, 5 for 275, 220 guaranteed. Tua, 4 for 212. And really Jordan Love. Like, I know I talk glowingly about Jordan Love on this podcast, but they gave him a contract based on 8 games. It made him, at the time, the highest paid quarterback AAV wise. So, and he had a down year this year. I was not impressed with Jordan Love at all. So if you're going to pay Jordan Love that amount of money, I do believe that Brock Purdy has earned it as well. So I don't know what we're waiting on. I know that we keep talking about what Jed York said a year ago, and now they're going to be ruthless when deemed appropriate. So they made all these moves in order to pay Brock Purdy. I think they should just pay him already.
Yeah, that's the last point you made there is kind of where I'm at. And Garofolo, his comments were all based on the percentage of the salary cap that the quarterback's contract takes up in the first place.
Right.
So, like, that's where he was comparing it. He's saying, well, typically when a quarterback gets paid, they're taking anywhere from 20 to 25% of that year's salary cap. And those guys that you just mentioned, the Trevor Lawrences, the Aaron, I was about to call him Aaron Judge, the Jordan Loves, I don't know why I was calling him Aaron Judge. All those guys are in the mid 20s there, like they're 20 to 25%. So he said that he's expecting that with that percentage, that's really all Garofolo was saying, that using that percentage as a leverage play, well, Brock Purdy has the right to say, well, you should pay me kind of in the high 50s, close to Dak Prescott, because that's what quarterbacks are normally getting paid for a percentage of their team payroll. So that's what you should give me. And forget like what we think he's worth. Forget what anyone thinks he's worth. Whether you think, oh man, that guy's not worth $52 million. That guy's only worth 50. And that guy's worth 55 million. No, he's not. He's worth 60. Like all those different things. Forget that. You just said it at the very end, dude. They have released all of these players so that they can at least pay Brock Purdy. And if they don't find a way to get this done soon and not have this linger into training camp, then I'm going to go the Stephen A route and call that organizational malpractice. Like,
I would agree with you.
You can't have this entire offseason centered around paying Brock Purdy and then just not give him the contract that your owner said you were going to give him last year, and not even paying him resetting the market type of money. And also, Derek, one more thing. I know I'm cutting you off here.
No, go for it.
Another thing from the John Lynch part is the bottom line is you're always looking out years from now, and we forecast it, and we got some big things coming our way, and you have to clear the requisite room to be able to do that. And you don't want to get to a point where you have to do things to keep your roster afloat. You want to have that flexibility. So he is talking about the draft, but I do think there's a little bit of Brock Purdy put in that quote. Like, that's the big thing coming their way. They're going to have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's what they were planning for 2 years now. I think that's why the Brandon Ayuk contract was held up, because they really didn't want to pay Brandon Ayuk and have it impact the quarterback contract. And not that it will just impact everything else. So yeah, no, I'm with you, Steven. I don't think that Brock Purdy's contract needs to make up most of the salary. I think they can find a way around that. I think they should just give him something along the lines of Jordan Love. It doesn't need to rival that of Dak Prescott. They don't need to pay him $60 million a year. But if they paid Purdy 4 for 220 with 160 guaranteed, that'd be the same exact thing that Jordan Love got. I think that's appropriate. I think that's appropriate for a guy that has taken his team to the Super Bowl, multiple playoff victories. Yeah, like, what are we doing here? And I know that last year wasn't great, but prior to that, Brock Purdy was in the MVP conversation. I think he finished like, what was it, 4th or 5th or whatever it was. Threw for 30 touchdown passes, threw for 4,000 yards. Other guys that have gotten contracts have numbers comparable to that. Yeah. So I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why there's a holdup now. Well, I don't know why they would make all these moves if they weren't planning on paying him.
Well, let's think, though. Jason LaCanfora's little, not even a report, just a tweet about whatever he heard. 45 million is where their starting point was at. That's probably not true, right?
It's not true. It's not true according to Diana Rossini.
But Rossini also said that he's going to get paid somewhere in the low 50s.
Yes.
And I think what Garofolo is saying is that he has a case to get into the high 50s. So I think that's what we're waiting for here. Is I think there's just a certain number that Purdy wants, and the 49ers just aren't willing to meet it yet. Because you're right. What are we waiting for? It seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? They're at odds over a negotiation, at least right now.
Yep.
And I think Garofolo just kind of gave the agent like a little more. I mean, it probably just revealed what his agent is saying right now. It's like, hey, this is what quarterbacks make. This is how much they make 25%. They make it 25% of their salary cap. You better be giving Purdy that number. But hey, we guaranteed Nick Bosa a lot of money.
Yes, they did.
We got George Kittle that we want to pay. We got Fred Warner, who's probably looking for an extension. We're just paid Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. I don't know if we could reach that number. So there's probably a lot of that going on at this point. It feels like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that the Niners are so strict on what they want to do this offseason that they're like, nope, we're not going to hit that number this year. Well, you can. Why won't you? We just don't want to. We're changing things. We don't want to go down the route we did before. But I don't think that everything in the future is factoring in right now. I think that George Kittle and Fred Warner are basically playing on prove-it deals right now. I think that I don't know if George Kittle is going to be around in 2026. I don't know if Fred Warner is going to be around in 2027 whenever his contract is up. I believe it's 2 years left with Fred Warner. But you could trade him next offseason too.
That is so brutal. That is so brutal if George Kittle is playing on a prove-it year after he's coming off a first-team All-Pro season. Where
it's not so much a prove-it deal because they know what player they have in George Kittle. It's more so, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a quarterback thing, man. There's a holdup on it.
No, 100%. But I also think that it's also to them, like there's nothing that George Kittle can prove this season to them. It's just, how much do you like being a Niner? And how much do you want to win? Because I could see them asking him, we want you around, but we want you to take a pay cut.
Yep.
And he's like, no chance. I'll go play in Nashville. So, yeah. And this is why I love the game, the insider game, when it comes to the NFL or anything really in sports. Mike Garofolo didn't bring this up willy-nilly. I'm sure that Brock Purdy's agent told him what they wanted a contract, and Garofolo took to the air and said, this is what Brock Purdy should get. Yeah. I love how meticulous all these insiders are. We're like, they're no different than Jordan Schultz, honestly. They're getting paid off. They have their connections with these agents, and they make the agenda. They know when they want to bring certain things up. So the Aaron Rodgers thing is getting stale, and Mike Garofolo's like, I got some info from Brock Purdy's agent, and I'm going to have my take on this in order to get him paid.
No, exactly.
I get it.
He's not going to bring up the agent.
Right.
He's just going to.
Well, he did reference him, but he's not going to say 100% like, hey, he told me they want this amount of money, and damn it, he should get that.
Right. It's. Oh,
I'm frustrated when contracts that were a pain in the ass last season continue to be one this season. Like, thank God the Jamar Chase deal got done. The Cowboys and Micah Parsons, I don't even care about that right now. I'll let them figure that out. It'll be a whole thing in training camp when Micah Parsons holds out probably. If this Brock Purdy contract isn't done by OTAs or June or July, then I'm going to be like, what are we doing here? It's the same goddamn thing. Like you want to talk about how you want to change things and you want to be different. You don't want to have the same, training camp fiascos as Nick Bosa and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Then get this done already, because I know you want to be very careful in giving out contracts going forward, and that's fair. But you've had a lot of time to think about this Brock Purdy thing, and you let so many guys go, and you've never put money into the position. You might as well just do it, and you might as well do something that's reasonable for the kid, because he's definitely earned something in the 50s.
I also wonder how much that Silver article is playing into this, with Jed York and Parag Marate saying, look, man, we can't do that. We can't do that right now. We can't do high 50s for Purdy. then maybe Lynch and Shanahan are at odds with it because obviously Shanahan wants him to get paid. Shanahan doesn't say, I think I can win a Super Bowl with Brock just to say it. He's not just building him up. Like
Right.
Shanahan's not very good at hiding his, I guess it's too strong a word to say, disdain for certain quarterbacks. And I'm talking with that of Jimmy Garoppolo. He never really hit it very well. He was sure convicted or said with conviction, hey man, Brock Purdy is our guy. Like, this is my guy. And as long as I'm here, I think I can win a quarterback with him. He doesn't just say that.
Super Bowl.
But exactly. What did I say?
Win a quarterback with him.
Win a quarterback, Jesus Christ, win a Super Bowl with him. But that article, Parag and Jed, going to be more aggressive. They are going to be more ruthless. Wonder if that has anything in factoring into this too.
I mean, I'm sure it does. With how they just don't want to give out contracts like they did in the past. But this is the most important position. Yep. So I think they have to give it. And I know that some people could say, like, well, I don't think Brock Purdy's that elite. Well, you weren't saying that a year ago. Like, all these fans now, it's hilarious. You and I were talking about, Stephen, how a year ago, if you were going to say anything bad about Brock Purdy, like, that's blasphemous. How dare you? Yeah. Now when you say, like, he should be paid 60, whoa, I don't want that gut in the whole team. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
This is just the price of the NFL. Like, most teams would rather be in this position than not be in this position when you find a guy. I know that it sucks. You have to pay somebody and you have to tear everything down around him. But that's what happens when you win. That's what happens when you find a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And the good ones just still keep your team competitive. That's why you can pull this off with the Rams and the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you can pull it off with the Niners, though. That's my one thing. I know I'm talking to both sides of my mouth when I say you have to pay Brock Purdy, and you should pay Brock Purdy, and he deserves the amount of money that rivals Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence. At the same time, do I think it's a good thing to do as far as having him make the most money, and in the process you have to let so many guys leave? No. I mean, that's a terrible way to go about it, but it's the only way you go about it.
Yeah. I also think, like, to not even, like, just for their sake, to get this deal done, just so you avoid questions. Yeah. I think, like, my God, man, watching Lynch eventually, like, there was times during that, was it during, not so much during the Nick Bosa contract. The Nick Bosa contract, he was very confident they were going to get that done.
It was Ayuk.
Yeah, it was Ayuk. And his hair, like, was out of place one day, and he just looked tired.
Dude, they all look terrible.
Not terrible. Look,
no,
John
dude,
is a very handsome individual. It takes a lot for him to look terrible.
Okay, not terrible, but like disheveled. Like,
yeah.
There were so many points. Like, I can name you so many different press conferences. Like the one they had when training camp started, to the one where John Lynch. I mean, like they look like they just aged horribly through the summer.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular. They had a press conference. I think it was the last one when training camp ended. And John Lynch, I think at one point said, like, he's got to play. Like, at some point you have to show up and play. And he looked so tired and exhausted. And that's when we heard that the story the next day that he got on the phone and was going to call Omar Khan and say, we're dealing Brandon Ayuk to the Steelers. And then John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan famously kicked the door in and said, we're not doing that. And then they got the deal done. So
it's crazy.
I doubt it'll get to that point. I do still believe they'll get something done with Brock Purdy because I think Brock Purdy's more reasonable than Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
It's just not going as swimmingly as we thought it would right now, but I do think it will get done.
Yeah. It's just, I think also everything that's factoring into it too is like, oh, he's just salt of the earth. He's going to just he'll say, you know what? I'm Brock Purdy. I'm a nice guy. I'll just take $50 million. No problem. Just so we can better the team. It's like, no, these guys are humans. They want as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what anyone wants with their job? If they have an opportunity to get some form of a pay raise, and then, like, you know, athletes might have a little more room to negotiate a potential pay raise, you know, like right. Saying, like, you know, I'm worth this or else I'm going to go elsewhere. Like, not everyone has that flexibility, but sometimes people have taken them and you're like, God damn, I thought I should have got more than that. You know, like it's happened to all of us. So Yeah, just imagine being in his shoes. Just like, yeah, I'll accept it. No problem. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. Like people that act like he should be grateful to get any pay increase from where he was before, like they were taking advantage of him. And
Right.
rightfully so. Like they can manipulate that contract because he's a rookie and he got drafted in the 7th round. You definitely worked that to your benefit to, pay everybody else. You don't have to worry about the quarterback. He's playing at a high level, but he's so cheap. They got away with that for so many years, and now it's going to bite you in the ass. So I hear even people like my father on the radio being like, "Well, Brock Purdy's going to get a pay increase. He's going from $2 million this year to $9 million." It's like, well, that's not enough. He's been playing he deserves a legit contract when it comes to a quarterback. Yeah, I know. My father is he literally said the other day, he's like, Brock Purdy's getting a pay increase. He is. He's going to $9 million this year. They don't have to pay him this year. They can franchise tag him. Are we really going down that road? Come on.
I'm not really laughing at whatever your dad's saying. I'm more laughing at your impression of him. You're slowly turning your dad into Jack Lemmon from Glenn Ross.
I don't hear that.
Let me give you a sale here, huh? Let me give you some leads. Let me tell you about these leads.
I need the leads, damn it. Okay, I told you I need the
Let me
leads.
tell you about these leads. Weren't you on the golf course the other day? Why don't you go golf course with a nice fresh lemonade and a cigar in your mouth? Don't you want a house on that market? Don't you want one on that island?
I don't know what voice you're doing right now, but that is not Jack Lemmon.
That's Jack Lemmon and Glenn Ross, dude. Look it up.
Basically, Jack Lemmon is. Do you ever watch Simpsons with the character Gil?
Yes.
And
Yes.
he would just be like the car salesman, be like, you gotta buy a car. Oh, jeez, they're foreclosing on my house today. Oh,
Yeah.
that was Jack Lemmon. My dad's not. Yeah, the impression we do at KNBR, I know it's a very exaggerated version of my father, but basically it's John Lovitz from The Wedding Singer. He's losing his mind, and I'm reaping all the benefits.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Keep moving.
All right. We are about a month away from the NFL draft. It's on April 24th. And when I can, opiners, I will give you the details of when we're doing a KNBR draft party, but I can't tell you right now. As far as the draft, we got the Raiders drafting 6 and the Niners drafting in 11th. And I think we all know where the Niners want to go. It's probably going to be defensive tackle or offensive line, but most likely defensive tackle, I would say. Maybe corner, who knows?
Dude, it's going to be anything. It's going to be anything in the trenches. I don't think we know which position it's going to be. I think they could take a guard for all we know.
They very well could, but I would be surprised if they pass up on the opportunity to get a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean. Given that all we know is of one starter, Nick Bosa. Besides that, I don't know who's starting on this defensive line. I think they need to probably use their first round pick on a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
But as far as the Raiders, we don't talk about them nearly enough when it comes to letting free agents go this offseason. And it's not like they lost the players of the caliber that the Niners lost, like Dre Greenlaw and Travarius Ward. The Raiders lost Robert Spillane, Nate Hobbs, and Trayvon Merrick. Trayvon Merrick was a player that was, getting into his own, and you never want to see like a young player like that leaving free agency. Same thing with Nate Hobbs. Robert Spillane's been around this league for quite some time, but he was a solid middle linebacker that the Raiders have always struggled with in that position. When it comes to all the mock drafts I see, I keep seeing the Raiders at 6 taking Ashton Jeanty. And that will make a lot of sense because right now on the roster, they have Raheem Mostert. They have Zamir White. They have – what are you laughing about?
Nothing.
Well, the way I said Raheem Mostert?
You said mustard. Like you used mustard.
Raheem, Radio Raheem. They got him. They got Zamir White.
Right.
I forget who they also have on the roster right now. I think
running back wise?
Yeah.
Nobody. Amir Abdullah and Alexander Madison are free agents. So
that's right.
Yeah, they don't have anyone else on that depth chart.
So Ashton Jeanty would make a lot of sense. And he would kind of be the Marshawn Lynch for the Raiders. Pete Carroll loves running the rock. He did it when he was with Seattle just a couple years ago with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. But I don't think the Raiders can afford to draft a running back at 6. And I'm not devaluing running backs because obviously Saquon Barkley was huge for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. But it was just more than Saquon Barkley. Like, they were a very solid team all the way around, and then they added Saquon Barkley. The Raiders are not in that same position. So while Ashton Jeanty would be great at running back for the Raiders, they need to go – they need so much more. Like, I think they would need Will Johnson more. Like, think about who's in charge with the Raiders. You have John Spytek, and I think Tom Brady will probably be involved in this draft. 2 guys from Michigan. Everybody loves Will Johnson, this cornerback from Michigan. Pete Carroll is going to be involved in the draft. I don't think he's going to have final say. I do think that John Spytek is going to be the guy to say, this is what we need, this is what we're going to do. And Pete Carroll has to go along with what the decision is. So if I had to say right now, I think Will Johnson's more of a priority for the Raiders. I would say the wide receiver from Arizona, I think his name is, I'm probably going to butcher it right now, but Tetairoa McMillan.
Tetairoa McMillan, yeah.
Tetairoa. And the Raiders right now are very thin at wide receiver. They got Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Not a lot of big body, physical wide receivers. So, yes, if we're going off of what Pete Carroll has done in the past, makes a ton of sense to get Ashton Jeanty. But Pete Carroll's not the GM. He's not the guy that has the final say on everything. He's not John Gruden. I do think that John Spytek would look at more of the needs and look at where they're at, 6 overall, just to take a running back there. Like, the Detroit Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, but they were a good team already. They had a lot of positions filled up already. The Raiders have so many holes. I don't think drafting Ashton Jeanty at 6 would be the right decision.
Well, okay, but why? Like, maybe this is just me having like a simple mind when it comes to the draft. If they're going to take Jeanty at 6, why can't they just trade down? Like, if it's too high for them, you'd think that's the case with a lot of other teams. Like, I'm looking at the order right now. I'm just going on Tankathon.
Yeah.
Like, you look, if none of these top 5 teams are going to draft him, right? Look at the Jets. Well, they have Breece Hall. You look at the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard. I guess he's their full-time starter. You look at the Saints. They have Kamara. You have the Bears, who I guess are going with DeAndre Swift. I guess that would be one. Or San Francisco, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. With Dallas, I don't know what Dallas is going to do. Maybe you trade down with them. Who's even their starting running back right now? Am I blanking
In Dallas?
Is it Tony Pollard still? No, Tony Pollard's with Tennessee. Who's their starting running back?
Javonte, they just picked up Javonte Williams and they signed Miles Sanders.
Okay, so I mean, I guess maybe Dallas. Like, why can't you just trade down instead if you know these other teams aren't going to draft a running back?
Because you're at 6 and there's so much value there at number 6 for good players. Why would you trade that down and fill the need I know that Ashton Jeanty is this guy that wowed everybody and was in Heisman consideration and had a all-time running back season. I will also say that I watched him live. I went to San Jose State and watched him, and he looked great. I also watched him in the bowl game against Penn State, and he got bottled up. We see what Ashton Jeanty did in the conference that Boise State plays in. And yes, he had a great performance against the Big Ten and Oregon, but we don't know how he was against, the best teams in football when it comes to college. So
yeah, but it's not about that, dude. It's not necessarily his body of work in college. It's also what he could do in the pros. And I think that the patience that he ran with, it's similar to Le'Veon Bell's. I think it could translate. And you're using Saquon Barkley as an example. He should have been with the Giants still. They totally mishandled everything, building that team around him. Instead, they wanted to build it around Daniel Jones. So that was on the organization. I don't think that was on them for drafting him. They obviously made the right pick. It's because they mishandled everything. So I just don't think it would be that much of a stretch. And you say Pete Carroll doesn't have much say in it. Well, what was Pete Carroll's number one thing that he wanted to improve? The identity that he wanted to build. It's an identity of running the football. And if that means you're doing it with Raheem Mostert and Zamir White, that ain't going to cut it. So if Ashton Jeanty's going to be the guy to go at 6, I think you take a running back in the first round. I do.
I hear you, Steven. I totally understand that the priority is going to the priority of the season is going to be running the football, and they
Right.
need to. And that's going to benefit Geno Smith because right now he doesn't have a lot of weapons. He's got Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker.
Right.
But then they need to upgrade around him. Yes, I'm not saying that Ashton Jeanty is not going to be a good running back. I do think he's going to be very good.
Yeah.
But for where you are as a football team, I think that you could find other really good running backs in later rounds of the draft. You do need cornerback help. You
Sure.
do need pass rush. You do need linebacker depth. I think just passing on all of that because Ashton Jeanty's a sweet player and you want to run the rock, I think that's reckless, honestly. I think that you're not a team. You won 4 games a year ago. You're not in a position to be drafting a running back. And to your point with Saquon Barkley, I agree with you. I think that the Giants mishandled that whole thing. They did not mishandle drafting him 2nd overall because his talent coming out of draft or coming out of Penn State into the draft was all time. It's something we never seen before. It was him being like around the time he was getting drafted, Le'Veon Bell and all these other guys, Todd Gurley, were tearing up the league. So running backs were still valued at that time. But you could find so many more in the draft. This is a very running back friendly class. So yeah, you still have that need, but you could definitely do that in 2nd round or 3rd round or 4th round. I just think that I wouldn't also put it out of the realm of possibility they draft a quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders is available at 6, they'll probably take him. But
Right.
given the way things are going right now, I doubt he will be. So
I got to be honest, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, I don't want to give anyone the impression here that I'm like, I only want the Raiders to draft Jeanty and I don't want them to draft anyone else. Like, if they landed all those players that you listed, I'd be just as happy there. I just wouldn't have a problem with it. The only one I would be Shedeur. I'm kind of souring on him. Like, not after his meetings, not because of whatever this arrogant behavior he's displaying to certain coaches or executives around the league. I don't care about any of that. I'm just very skeptical on him.
yeah,
And
of course.
I just think that if he were starting, I don't know how he would take it if he was just to sit behind Geno Smith. It seems they got their quarterback. Like, I'm kind of, ever since that Geno trade, I'm almost like out on drafting a quarterback, honestly. Like, instead of drafting one this year, just wait till next season to draft one. If you got Geno on a whatever kind of contract you have him under.
Well, you have him on. I mean, his contract is up after this season, and they were talking about extending him, but we haven't seen anything happen yet.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything yet. So I don't know. I Shedeur would be the only one. I just don't know. Like, I'm looking at highlights and stuff, and I don't know. I just don't know if he's going to be that good.
Yeah, I need to watch him more. I watched a ton of him in college, but I didn't really get a good sense of how he'd be as a pro. So I need to do my research on him.
There were games when I watched. I didn't watch like a ton of college football. I'm not going to sit here and act like like that's the problem with the draft too. I didn't sit down on my Saturdays and spend the entirety of it watching college football. Normally, I'd do this podcast and then I would go do something else. But like plan a wedding or help plan a wedding. Not going to act like I planned the wedding. That was pretty much all Jesse. But whenever I did watch him, though, it felt like whenever his offensive line broke down, then he had a terrible game. Like, if his offensive line was protecting him and, he had trust, confidence that he would get that protection, then like he'd be fine. But if he didn't, watch a couple of games against the Ducks, he just didn't look very good. So I just don't know what to expect from him. The highlights look great, but what do the low lights look like? That's the problem, man. Someone needs to post these damn low lights. It's not what
they do. They do.
It's not what you do when everything's going right. It's how you handle and respond in the face of adversity. And we don't really see that with quarterbacks. All we see is the good stuff.
Well, when you're doing your draft prep, I have come across, like, if you have the time, there are these highlight videos, not so much highlights, but like it goes through like every throw in a certain game. So you can see how, even the good throws comes with the bad throws. And also Shedeur Sanders, not a particular, I will say I had a problem earlier in the year where there was a game where they were supposed to run out the clock. Instead, he threw a pass to pick up the first down because he wanted his teammate to, get on the stat sheet. And Dion played it off like, you want to have a leader like that because obviously he was helping his teammate. And it's like, yeah, but he could also lost the game easily. So, and Shedeur didn't really take accountability with that. He's kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. We won the game, so why does it matter? You don't want to hear that stuff.
Right.
But I do need to watch. I do need to give him the benefit of the doubt. I do think that the Raiders are infatuated with him. It seems like that from all of the public outings with Mark Davis and Shedeur, and even Tom Brady's praise of him.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess right now, the best situation for the Raiders draft-wise is draft Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, at 6. That's what I would do. And then if you can, trade up at the end of the first round or early second round for Jackson Dart. And then you can easily pick up a running back in the third or fourth round. And then you'll have time to get a linebacker and everything there as well. There's also a lot of free agents available too after the draft if you didn't come away with something that you desired. But I don't think drafting Ashton Jeanty is going to put you in a good position as far as, filling the holes of everything else you need. You're neglecting a lot of other needs.
Sure.
And there's a ton of running backs. Running back is important. It is a very important position. At the same time, you shouldn't be using early draft picks for running backs because there's so much depth there that you can find it in the draft, or you can find undrafted rookies to play running back as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm not as high as that on that as you are. I think Jeanty is levels above those players. So again, if they drafted him, I'd be okay with it. If they went another direction, I'd actually be okay with it as well because they have so many damn positions they need to fill. Like, it's hard for them to go wrong. Just, you know what my prerequisite for the draft is, Derek? Obviously the Shedeur Sanders. I just brought up Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
But you know what I don't want them to do? Just please, God, don't draft some player who has a second round grade, but you feel like you found a steal with the 6th overall pick. Like, please don't do that.
I highly doubt that happens. That was a Mike Mayock special.
Dude, the Cleveland Furl thing. What the hell, man? That was God. That you want to talk about like a bust kind of thing? Like, that was basically a bust.
Well, he's still playing in the league. Where's he right now, Commanders?
I don't know.
He's a solid pass rusher, but drafted 4th overall. He's a disappointment. Yeah, he hits a disappointment category.
Don't give me an Alex Leatherwood.
That bust. He's out of the league. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just don't do that. Don't try to get cute. Just draft one of these guys that has a first round draft grade, please. Like,
I honestly have a lot of faith in that. And that's why I do think they're not going to draft Ashton Jeanty at 6 overall because John Spytek comes highly regarded from his past with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's actually going to be a very good general manager. He was a very good scout, very good talent evaluator. I highly doubt that he would reach at a player, or if anything, he might trade down and accumulate more draft picks. But I do not see Spytek screwing this thing up and, drafting a guy we haven't heard of, from Mike Mayock doing what John Gruden wanted him to do to Al Davis drafting Darius Hayward-Bay because he was fast. I don't think you're gonna get that thought process with Spytek. I think he's going to be very smart, and so with that in mind, I don't think he's going to draft Ashton Jeanty at 6. I think it's either going to be Will Johnson or Titaroa McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona.
I'm not going to be mad at that.
Yep,
I'm not going to be mad at that at all. That dude catches everything. It's crazy. Like, I mean, again, he was playing with a quarterback in Arizona who he's played with since like the Pop Warner days. So it's going to be interesting with getting a guy who's been in the league probably when they were playing together in Pop Warner. But McMillan, like, that guy's a stud. So he's not that fast, but he's just huge and he's got hands. So I'm all in on that. There's a lot of ways they can go here. It's going to be hard for them to disappoint me. I got to be honest. It really is. It's going to be very hard for them to do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's 6, and there's so, like, if we go with what we think is going to happen right now, Cam Ward probably going first. We'll see what happens quarterback-wise for the Browns, but it sounds like right now they would go with Abdul Carter at 2, just to have make Myles Garrett happy to get the top pass rusher and have him play opposite him. I would think Shador would go to the Giants. I would think Travis Hunter would go to the Patriots. And I would assume that the Jaguars would take Mason Graham at 5, the defensive tackle from Michigan.
Mhm.
If, for whatever reason, they didn't take him at 5, the Raiders should be all over Mason Graham.
Yeah.
And that's another Michigan guy, which I'm sure Spytech and Brady are all about. So it's just hard to pass up like McMillan or Johnson or Graham or any of these other really good elite players at positions that you don't have right now.
Right.
So that's why I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a really good player, but I don't think it's worth drafting him at 6. I think you can find another running back later on.
Yeah. Okay.
Talk a little Warriors.
Why not?
Let's do it. So last time we spoke, the Warriors won a gritty game against the Milwaukee Bucks without Steph Curry. And there was going to be no issues with Steph Curry coming back against the Toronto Raptors. No injury designation. He didn't have any problem with the back, so no more rest. He's good to go. And that game was a slugfest. They had issues with the Toronto Raptors earlier this season, and it was the same case at Chase on Thursday night. Scotty Barnes was scoring at will. They just had a hard time stopping him. And then in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, Steph falls on his tailbone, pelvic bone, whatever you want to call it, and he has a pelvic contusion. I love a good contusion with the Warriors. They love that. Always love the contusions, whether it was a nasal contusion for GP2, all the way going back to the Kevin Durant days. Whatever injury happened, it was always going to be a contusion. So Steph leaves the game and doesn't come back, and he's going to be out. He missed yesterday. We'll see if he plays against Miami. But the Warriors prevailed in the end of the fourth quarter. The best defense was saved for the fourth quarter, where Draymond Green had a great breakup pass, and Jimmy Butler had a block that he caught and then was able to go to the free throw line and got a triple-double, and they got that win. And even though it was against the lowly Toronto Raptors, I felt good about the win just because they hung in there and were resilient. And I was fairly confident that in these next 4 games, if Steph Curry wasn't going to be available, I think they can handle their business. You're on the road against teams below 500, the Atlanta Hawks, the Miami Heat, who have been dreadful since trading away Jimmy Butler. You got the New Orleans Pelicans, and then you got the San Antonio Spurs. If Steph Curry does not return for the last 2 games, I assume he's going to probably not be there for Miami. We'll see about New Orleans and San Antonio. I felt fairly confident. And I even thought that maybe this could benefit the Warriors, kind of learning how to play without Steph, making everybody else kind of pick up the slack and doing their thing. Jonathan Kuminga having more of a role, playing more, so he's acclimated to playing big minutes in the postseason. Not big minutes, but significant minutes when in the past he hasn't played at all. And then yesterday happened, and we'll get into the game, but just talking about Steph Curry being out, like, I know this example has been brought up before. The last 2 championship runs, Steph Curry missed time in late March, early April, leading into the postseason.
Yeah,
I think that benefited the Warriors greatly. I think it helped out Jordan Poole to, get into his zone, and he was starting games. And then Steph Curry was coming off the bench. They had Kevin Durant in 2018, but that helped them as well. Then Steph came back, and they were clicking on all cylinders. I thought this was going to be the same case. And then yesterday happened, and we'll get into that game. But did you think that this time was going to be beneficial to Jimmy Butler and the rest of the gang without Steph Curry?
Well, of course not. You're basically in a pennant race right now. I like saying that, the pennant race. You're basically in a race with 3 other teams. The Timberwolves and Clippers are right behind you. Like, this isn't the same case as those last times that you mentioned, because it felt like the Warriors were pretty well solidified there in the leading into the 2022 postseason. So you didn't really need Steph. This one, like, you're going to be missing him for a few games, but it's going to be an uphill climb if you just continue to lose. So no, I'm sure, I guess it'd be beneficial resting wise, but they need to win some games here. Like, as much as they've won over these past however many games it's been, I've kind of lost count because we just kept on doing like they've won 10 of 12 with Butler. They've won but 11 games when he's healthy, all these sorts of things. I don't even know where we're at now, but like, you can't.
Is it 14-3 with Jimmy Butler?
See, Derek, but the thing is, like, we I personally said this even before the trade deadline, like, or after the All-Star break, rather, like, you got to win 20 of your next 27 games if you want to be in the race here. And you're getting to the edge where it's like you got 13 games remaining and you can't lose 4. Like, you can't afford to do that. So I think they're in a really scary position right now. Though last night's game, that's an interesting one, but I do want to get it. But I am scared of them without Steph. Yeah, to give you one word answer, yes. By the way, I was kind of grimacing at the at my tiny little TV here, but we got Baylor and Duke. Cooper Flagg going through his own James Harden from on the Rockets against the Warriors in that playoff game we were at Oracle. He got poked in the eye, and right now he kind of looks like Two-Face because one eye or one side of his face is pale and the other side of his face is red.
Yeah. And even Steph's got a little shiner going underneath his eye for the last few weeks.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with Cooper Flagg right now. And it looks like Baylor's tied it up at 9-9. So that's good.
There you go. Yeah, I wasn't too concerned because I liked what I saw with the Warriors without Steph.
Yeah.
On Tuesday night and Thursday night. And I thought they could replicate that on the road against Atlanta. And yesterday, they just couldn't do anything defensively. Like, that was the most disappointing thing. Like, I thought that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler would step their game up. And I said on Friday, I thought that they were probably the two best defensive, like, pairing, like a duo as far as, like, two defensive players on the same team. I thought they were number one, in my opinion, the way they were able to close out that game against Toronto. And they didn't do anything yesterday defensively. Like, everything that the Warriors did.
Flagg's fine.
What's up?
Flagg's fine. He just got it and one. Like, he's
there you go.
Fine. Anyway.
The Hawks answered back immediately. When anything would go well for the Warriors. They didn't do much defensively in the first quarter. They allowed 40 points. And then since that time, they were a little more aggressive, but offensively it just wasn't clicking. It wasn't smooth. They weren't moving the ball like they were before. And Jimmy Butler just didn't take the game over offensively. No one did yesterday. So yesterday was a bad loss. And now this is where things could bite them in the ass. I was confident that they would handle their business without Steph Curry, but there's growing pains without him. So now, if the Clippers win tonight against Oklahoma City, I think that the Warriors fall to 7 again, and the Clippers move up to 6.
Right.
So that's where I'm with you, Steven. I thought that the pressure of them having to maintain the 6th seed would kind of make them focus yesterday, but that did not happen. I think they'll be focused on Tuesday night with Jimmy Butler going back to Miami. But yesterday was a bad loss, and now that's the one thing where I thought they could handle their business. At the same time, if they stumble, this could really hurt them when it comes to seeding. So I know in the past I was talking about maybe they can move up to 5, maybe they can move up to 4. I think we need to slow our roll. I think that we're not out of the woods yet of them not being a play-in team. That's still very well on the table. I think the best case scenario probably is 6, just with how competitive everything is in the West. And now with the Steph injury, how they're able to maintain games. And you still got Minnesota on your heels. Clippers could bypass you now. I don't think you're catching anybody else in the West right now, even though I think on paper they're better than the Rockets. They're better than the Timberwolves. Those teams just have, or sorry, not the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies. Those teams just have a better lead on you right now, so I don't think they're catching them. I think just right now they need to focus on getting out of the play-in, and right now that's easier said than done.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Rockets, who you didn't believe in, Derek, are currently in 2nd. So there you go. 2-game lead in 2nd.
Yeah, but you know what, dude? When it comes down to the playoffs, I'm still not buying them. I think that they're a very young team, and to rely on the veteran.
Sure. You're making this go. I'm trying to call you out on something you were totally wrong about, Derek. All right. You said, I'm not worried about the Rockets, whatever. And then you thought the Warriors could leapfrog them in the standings. I'm just saying. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Well, I don't think even the standings matter, honestly, when it comes to the Western Conference, because the Denver Nuggets right now, Jokic has been sitting out games since last Monday night. So I think they're kind of like, fuck it. Whatever seed we get, we get. Yeah. And I think the Rockets getting 2 won't mean shit, honestly. I think that if the Warriors end up being a play-in team and they have to survive the play-in, and then they're the 7th seed and have to play the Rockets, I'll gladly take that matchup.
I'd actually rather take that than the Nuggets.
Yep.
Like if they're in the play-in game against, I'd absolutely, if they win the play-in and they're 7th, yeah, I'd absolutely take that too. I'd feel much better about that. Like that'd kind of have the same feeling as the Warriors going up against the Kings in that first round series where like they're just, they won in the 7 games, but ultimately experience was kind of the biggest factor in all of that. And, Draymond Green stopping on the chest of Sabonis and really igniting everything that happened with that whole thing. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned though the defense, because just if you look back at the scores, like had the Warriors held the other team, had the Warriors scored 115 points in a lot of these other games, then they would have come away with a win. Because what gets lost in all of this and how the offense looks different with Butler and how much he slowed things down and how you can run the offense through him if Steph's hurt and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's the defense. Just defensively, they're so much more organized, coordinated. You're getting breaks in between with Butler shooting free throws, and you have time to plan things out, how you're going to, what's your plan of action on your next move here. Instead of just, running down the court, chucking up a 3, missing it, getting back on defense, or running up the court, chucking a 3, and then the other offense goes up tempo on you. And, then you're kind of dead in the water and they just come back and shoot a 3 in your face. Like it hasn't been like that. They've been able to hold teams for the most part to 100 to 110 points. And if they end up having a scoring night like the Hawks had last night, then they do end up scoring 130. And that is where you're missing Steph. Like you have to play the exact same way you've been playing defensively. And they didn't do that last night. So that's going to be their kind of Achilles heel here. With the Miami thing, maybe I'm just trying to be a contrarian because it feels like we know Jimmy Butler returning to Miami. Okay, revenge game. He calls it just another game. All right, we're all going to call bullshit on that. Like, it's not just another game, dude. This is you going back to Miami. But does he want to stick it? Like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of animosity with the players. I think I'm not interested in how Jimmy Butler's going to react to them. I'm more interested in how the Heat are going to respond to him because it didn't seem like there was much of a team issue. It seemed like it was more with Pat Riley and potentially Eric Spoelstra too, because when Spoelstra sat him, that's kind of when Spoelstra told him he was gonna bench him, then that's when Butler ended up leaving a practice and ended up getting suspended. I think that was like his 3rd suspension in the month of January or whatever.
Right.
But I just wonder, I don't know if Butler's going to be the one that is going to turn this into potentially a physical game. I think it's going to be, are the Heat going to be that team or is it just going to be, I don't know, another road game, Warriors versus Miami, no harm done?
I think that anytime you play your former team, while you still have love for your teammates, you just want to show them up.
Yeah.
You want to show that you were worth the contract. I think that's why Jimmy Butler is going to be motivated in that game. I don't think that he has beef with Bam or anybody else, Tyler Hero, anybody else on that team. I think it's just I'm going back to Miami and I want to have a good game. And I don't know what his relationship is like with Eric Spoelstra now. Obviously him and Pat Riley don't get along now, but I do think that Jimmy Butler will be very motivated. It's not a thing of I got beef with my teammates. I think that maybe the Heat players probably were like, damn, this whole thing's a distraction. I want Jimmy Butler just on the floor and, he's kind of holding us hostage here every night. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? There may be some animosity with that, but as far as Jimmy Butler, the guy, I don't think they give a shit. I think that they love him and they had 2 finals runs with him. I don't think that it's where Jimmy's like, I got nothing against my teammates. It's I want to just kick the ass of Miami and show everybody why I wanted to leave.
All right. Let me prep you, Derek. I'm prepping you for your Tuesday preview Warriors show.
All right.
How long are you going to be on the air? You're going to be on the air for an hour?
Yeah, we're only on for a couple of hours because the Giants are playing at 5. So I think we're done at 4:45. So just 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Okay. Are you going to be talking Giants that whole time, or you think you're going to be talking Warriors?
We'll probably be talking Warriors.
I'll prep you for a classic sports radio topic for this type of thing.
By all means, sir.
They're going to do a tribute video for him? You think they're going to do a thank you? Are the fans going to boo him or cheer him, Derek?
I think that they'll
This
cheer.
is going to be the natural question that
Yeah,
pops
I know.
up every single time we have one of these.
Jimmy Butler will have a tribute video, and he will be cheered.
Okay, there you go. All right,
because I don't think any of the Miami fans hold it against Jimmy Butler. I think they hold it against Pat Riley.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also, if you like listen to Dan Lebitard, he's like, this has been always the way that Jimmy Butler's been with the Miami Heat. He's always been demonstrative. It's just coming, into its own now because of last offseason when he didn't get a contract. But he's always been kind of a pain in the ass to them. But I think the fans appreciated the hell out of him. So no, I think that Jimmy Butler will be cheered and he'll get a tribute video. Absolutely.
They absolutely would be like wrong to not give him some form of a tribute. Like, that dude took you from the depths and helped turn Heat culture into, I mean, it's already believable, but he made it even more believable. He made it like a tangible thing that you could see on the court. Like, every single time the Heat came to Chase Center, it's like, well, they might not, they may be hurt. You remember that when I think it was earlier this season when they came to Chase Center and they had like everybody hurt. Everybody was hurt. But hey, Heat culture is still a thing. So like, that's why they're playing hard. That's because Jimmy Butler, I think, really helped that. So they better do something for him because they had so much success when he was there.
And you know what? At the same time, while he deserves praise from the Miami fans, I also believe that if you want to boo somebody, you could boo him. He's on a different team now.
For sure.
You can give him you could give him praise, but at the same time, he's on a different team. He left. He wanted to leave. He sat out games and he was suspended. Basically told everybody in a press conference, I don't want to be here anymore. I have no more joy here. So if you choose to boo him, that's your prerogative.
Yep.
Shit, they booed Matthew Stafford when he came back for a playoff game against the Lions. The Seahawks fans booed Russell Wilson when he came back. So while we expect certain things, I think that fans, they're entitled to do whatever they want.
Sure, of course. You're going to get a mix of both.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a mix of both.
I mean, they'll definitely boo him if he has like a big slam dunk and flexes everybody's face. Yeah, right. That'll happen.
Correct.
Speaking of the Giants, let's talk about that real quick, Steven. So really no big issues for the most of spring training. I guess the biggest topic was who's going to be the fifth starter in the pitching rotation. And it's not going to be Kyle Harrison now because he was optioned to AAA along with your guy, Joey Lucchesi.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. But he may get called up. You never know.
He could. He's got. I was actually surprised he didn't make the team. He's kind of the type of. Normally, Melvin, I think, gravitates towards veteran guys, especially in the middle, not back end, but more the middle part of the bullpen, who can come in if a starter's struggling and give you a couple of solid innings. I thought Lucchesi was going to make the team just for that, but obviously, I don't. He didn't really have a big sample size in spring training. They weren't throwing him out there that much. So, yeah.
And he's a lefty, right?
He is a lefty. Yeah, very unorthodox.
Yeah, and that's something that's been talked about too, is just the fact that the bullpen, there's only one lefty right now. It'd be Eric Miller. So that could be an option down the line there if they want to switch it up and have more lefties in the rotation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kyle Harrison optioned, so he will not start on the 40-man roster to start the season, but he probably will make a return at some point, and that brings it down to Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong. And we'll get a better idea, I think, later today, where they have this exhibition game up at Sacramento, and I believe it's Landon Roop starting the game and Hayden Birdsong as a reliever. So that may be some kind of indication where they're kind of not going to pitch a ton of Hayden Birdsong. Maybe he'll be on. Maybe he'll be that guy, and maybe you'll see him in Houston. But we're not going to read too much into that right now. Bob Melvin will come up with something next couple of days here. What are you laughing about?
Look at you, man.
I know.
Look at you talking about a fifth-man rotation battle in spring training
This is what we're talking about with the Giants right now.
Hell yeah.
This is what we're doing, people. Fifth-man rotations.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I'm into it.
Yeah, I bet you are. But the bigger news, I believe it sounds like Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be back for today's game. I don't think they have to worry about him. Maybe if he doesn't play today, maybe he'll be back for the 2-game series before the regular season starts against the Detroit Tigers. So they don't have to worry about him. But we got the news yesterday that Gerard Encarnacion will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken finger.
Yeah.
So, and I was really, we'll still get him back, but I was really hoping to do a lot of Nacho Libre references this season.
Yeah.
And sing Encarnacion.
Yeah. Yeah. You always had those options. I mean, so what do you think though with the number 5 guy in the rotation? Do you think you could tell everybody this is Birdsong or Roop? There it is.
I think it's gonna be Roop.
You think so?
If I had to guess, I think it was always kind of leaning in that direction. I will say, I guess more recently, Hayden Birdsong has wowed more. Like, wasn't there the whole thing where Bob Melvin took off a game to go watch Birdsong pitch in a I guess a split squad game?
Yeah.
And that's the game where he had 13 strikeouts.
Dude, the thing is, like, I like both of them. I like both those options, but God, Birdsong's just got such electric stuff, man. It's undeniable. Just the movement on his fastball, the break on his curveball. Like, you feel like he has the makings of a major league pitcher. Like Kyle Harrison did not. Kyle Harrison, the thing I liked about him at the start was how mechanical he was, right? Like, it's very strategic. It's very, hey, very rhythmic, and I kind of liked that. And I could see why he was the top prospect, but just never evolved. Like, his fastball had no movement to it. He wasn't fooling anybody. And that fastball, I think the lack of confidence in his fastball just didn't help with his breaking ball. So that's kind of sad. But Hayden Birdsong, I think, has all the tools. Landon Roop has been phenomenal this spring, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have Birdsong starting as that 5th guy.
Yeah, I mean, it could go in that direction. And is there a possibility that Landon Roop could be a guy that they bring out of the bullpen?
Yeah,
to start the season.
Yeah, there's something else there. I mean, they'll probably keep both of them on the roster. Obviously, they will. So,
but there's another thing that has been thrown out there. I didn't hear about this until Friday. Would you entertain trading Jordan Hicks to the Yankees and then you can have Roop and Birdsong in your 5-man rotation?
I'd entertain that. Yeah. Jordan Hicks was a project, if anything. Hey, let's try and start him out as a starting pitcher. We'll give him a shot. Obviously, it didn't work out. Then just have him be a reliever. Yeah, I think absolutely do that.
And it depends who you would get in return from the Yankees if you want another bat or whatever. But, like the Jordan Hicks experiment, I think that was such a Farhan thing, and I'm surprised that they're going with it this season with Buster Posey and Zach Manassian. But I don't think that's going to last. I do think with the depth they have of young starting pitchers that eventually they are going to either make Jordan Hicks a reliever again or trade him away.
Right.
I understand it makes sense right now. You want to have pitching depth, but I'm not surprised they're doing it again. Like you could have easily made Jordan Hicks a reliever again or trade him right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do it right now. I think they'll go into the season with having Jordan Hicks, but if he's getting tired again, then I could see them being like, we have enough relievers. It'd be nice to have Jordan Hicks, but we have a luxury right now that we could trade away.
Well, I think he's going to be a part of it. I think it also depends with Camilo Doval, what he looks like. I mean, look, Ryan Walker's getting an extended look as a closing pitcher, but we don't know what he looks like as an everyday closer. So I think they do need to keep those guys, but I would entertain to trade at some point, maybe not early on this season, because, I don't think they have a permanent guy right now. I know Walker is the guy, but we don't know if that's your permanent closing pitcher. Like, he's looked good, obviously. Like last year, looked very good. He's solid. Like, he fools everybody. He has a wacky motion, and you kind of wonder, like, why can't this guy be a closer? At least that's what you're thinking when he's getting called up. But I think there's a wait and see kind of period here, especially with that position, because there's going to be a lot of close games this year. It seems like the Giants are going to be really good defensively. Offensively, it might be a little bit of a question mark, at least on the back end of their lineup.
So with Gerard Encarnacion being out for 6 weeks, it looks like. What do you think they do DH wise? Is it just Wilmer? And I mean, now they can bring in. I mean, now Matos. He was going to be a starter. I mean, not a starter, but he was going to be on the roster to begin with. Now I think they probably bring in Grant McCray as well.
Yeah.
There's also talk. I heard Kerry Crowley bring this up yesterday, where he's like, you could also potentially have David VR be that guy who has a power hitter, and he could fill the void maybe as a DH. But I think most likely it's going to be where Wilmer was going to be platooning with Lamont Wade Jr. anyway. So just make him the DH, and now you can have Matos and Grant McCray fill in if you need them in the outfield.
Hell yeah, Derek.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Listen to you.
I know.
What do you mean you're sorry? Come on.
I'm not being myself.
Catch
Listen
the
to me.
fever. Catch the fever. You got La Russell on your most listened to Spotify right
I'm
now.
not going to apologize to that. That song sucks. I'll say that gladly at the Giants roundtable. That song sucks. It's not a good song.
Reporting live from the 415.
Jesus. I was like walking around Lake Merritt the other day, and someone was blasting that. I'm like, really?
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. To all my A's fans out there, I apologize for all this Giants nonsense I'm spewing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just part of the job now. But yeah, what do you think, Steven? Is it just Wilmer's going to be the go-to DH for the time being, or could they kind of experiment there?
To be honest, I wish they didn't option Luciano. Like, I'd love him to be a DH. Shoot.
They could bring him back.
I'd love that. I mean, Flores is great. I think he's a very reliable right-handed hitter. It is defensively where he's unreliable. I would rather have like, if I had to choose like an everyday guy, I'd rather have Lamont Wade specifically just because of his eye. Like, I think he's got a great eye for the baseball, at least in the batter's box, and he's a solid defender too. But I guess that's going to be it. Yeah, Wilmer, Brad. If I could, I'd rather have Luciano in that spot. He was terrible in spring training. He wasn't hitting well at all. So they needed, I understand why they optioned him. He had like 2 hits and 19 at-bats or whatever it was. But I guess it is Wilmer that you got to go with.
But what about Matos? I mean, everybody likes him as far as a bat, but like fielding-wise, if it was going to be Jung-Hoo Lee out for opening day, it sounds like they were going to go with Grant McCray because he's more reliable as an outfielder.
Yeah.
But if you're just having Matos hit, not a bad option, maybe a DH.
Yeah. I mean, there's they can go a number of ways, but I got to be honest, none of them are really, this is going to change the offense.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we'll get into it more with Walter on Tuesday, but
yeah,
from everything that I've been listening to Buster Posey's, not Buster Posey, Buster Olney's podcast, the Baseball Tonight podcast, trying to get a better feel for nationally what they're talking about. We all feel good about the Giants right now in the Bay Area because of the change in the vibes and Buster Posey being there. It's Farhan's gone. No more is the lineup going to be different every day, less platooning. But if we're being real, the National League is so competitive. So competitive. There's so many good teams. Like, look at the NL East. Right now, like the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets, you could say are all contenders right now. So there's 3 teams right there. There's 3 teams ahead of you in the NL West, I would say, that are better than you. Obviously, the Dodgers and the Padres and the Diamondbacks. So I think it's going to be very difficult for the Giants to make the playoffs. I think that right now they're in the same tier as the team they're going to face on opening day, the Cincinnati Reds. I would say, yeah, like they're probably a 82, 85 win team. That's my expectations, at least. And that's really anybody should be expecting this season. I think that, you just want to see change. You want it to seem like it's 2009 and they're on the cusp of something. If you're expecting like World Series this year, I think you need to lower your expectations.
Sure.
But I think it's just enough to see like, okay, they vibe with Bob Melvin. That's another thing. We'll talk about it more with Walter, but is this really a prove-it season for Bob Melvin, or is he just already in good standing with Buster Posey that it doesn't matter what happens this season? So, I think it's an evaluation for everybody on the roster. I think it's an evaluation for Bob Melvin, and I think that they'll improve from where they were the last 2 seasons, but I think it's going to be a relatively the same as far as just the record and postseason aspirations.
Just show you're competitive, man. Just show you're some form of competition. Like, I don't know. I mean, I have really low expectations this year. Like, if you could just give me a, 87 and 75 record, just give me like 5 games above 500 or something like that. Like, I'm good with that. Like, I don't really have, or whatever it was, 77, 87, 77, whatever that number is. Just show me you have that. I don't know, man.
But do you expect them to be better?
Of course. Yeah. I do expect them to be better. They should be better. Like last year, you're kind of just trotting out there the same old lineup that you've always trotted out there. I'd like to think that Matt Chapman and Willie Adames are going to give you something in that lineup. And if they keep Jung-Hoo Lee, they'll at least get someone in there, someone on base consistently. Like once Jung-Hoo Lee went out of that, like it was just over really for the lineup. So you had the nice little additions of Fitzgerald and, Brett Wisely and all that. But other than that, man, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I'm just expecting a solid season where they look okay. Like I'm not really expecting much.
Yeah, like I would say the thing that I have the most confidence in is Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, Elia Ramos, and Jung-Hoo Lee being really good hitters. And obviously that left side of the infield being dominant with Matt Chapman and Willie Adames. Besides that, I think Logan Webb's going to have a really good season again, probably pitch 200 innings. After that, I don't know what to expect of Justin Verlander. I know he's pitching very well in spring training, but he's 42 years old. You got Robbie Ray coming back. After that, like I said, don't know where Jordan Hicks is going to be. We'll see if he can sustain, pitching a lot of innings or going to go back to being a reliever. I think that Hayden Birdsong and Landon Roop and even Kyle Harrison will flash at times this season, but will they be able to maintain that for most of the season? They're very young. After you get to Elia Ramos in the lineup, there's a big drop-off when it comes to hitters. Don't have a lot of faith in Tyler Fitzgerald or Patrick Bailey or anybody else. So that's the thing. I feel very good about the top of the order, then everything after that, not so much.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of the Major League Baseball is feeling, Derek.
Yep. So there you go. I can prove I could talk Giants. Let's do a little Jackass of the Week. Steven, do you have anybody in mind?
I do. You can go first if you want. I got someone.
Well, all right. I don't know if I'm going to steal this from you, but
I want to know what yours, because I want to know what yours is, if it's the same one. Because there's not a lot, but
it might be the same thing.
It could be.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is anybody in particular, but I'm just going to make my Jackass of the Week anybody that came after Mina Kimes.
Oh.
Because I thought that whole thing was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the whole backstory, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but
it's not the same as mine, by the way, so I got a different one.
Well, there you go. What was the whole thing with Trump? They were basically, if you went online to
the White House took Jackie Robinson's military service out of its website because he was a quote unquote DEI hire.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Jackie Robinson, like if you're going to go with what most white people think DEI is, Jackie Robinson does not fit that criteria or whatever batshit crazy way you're thinking of that. Jackie Robinson changed the game, and his military service should be discussed. So the fact that was taken down in the first place is ridiculous, but then they put it back up. So, okay, whatever. Mina Kimes spent her FaceTime on Around the Horn talking about that. And she is not the first person to bring up political stuff in a FaceTime. And honestly, I don't even think that conversation was political. It had relevance in sports pertaining to Jackie Robinson. Correct. But I can remember back in the day, Kevin Blackistone or anybody else that had FaceTime on Around the Horn, you can bring up whatever you want. And even Tony Reale sometimes skirts the line of what is politics, what is sports. I do think that's a big reason of why that show was going away. I think people were turned off when they got very political, but that's besides the point. There's been so many writers that have spent their FaceTime talking about a cause that they care about. Like there's people talk about charities. Well, that's not sports related. The fact that Mina Kimes got so much hate for that, I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous. Even from like Robert Griffin III, her like former fellow coworker at ESPN calling her out, being like, I think that on sports shows you should talk about sports. That's fine if you believe that, but that's a very ill-timed tweet. You're going after Mina Kimes. And Mina Kimes gets a lot of shit for being a woman talking football. She didn't play. There's a lot of people that didn't play that talk football. I didn't play. You didn't play. Who cares? If she knows what she's talking about, let her talk about it. But to question if she should be on ESPN because she spent 30 seconds talking about Jackie Robinson, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But, this is the same crowd. Didn't Donald Trump call the NFL players kneeling along with Colin Kaepernick sons of bitches or something to that regard? This is when Stick to Sports, his presidency, this is when Stick to Sports was at its height. It's all just being regurgitated, man. I'm completely with you. This wasn't going to be like my jackass of the week, but just something funny I saw earlier today is the White House is looking to for corporate sponsors for their annual Easter egg roll.
Okay.
An Easter egg roll where they're gonna like put Trump's face along with Melania's on like an egg, and they're gonna try and find a sponsor. It's really bizarre, but this cracked me up because I was looking up Easter egg roll because I actually don't know what it is. I don't know how long it's been going on. I just know there's an Easter egg roll. Like it's a president pardons a turkey and does all these different things. Yeah. And you go to the White House, and this is the top photo on the website. I got
For the podcast audience, it is Trump on the ledge of the White House, Melania to his left, and basically a big ass rabbit, a guy in a costume with glasses on, looking like a dumbass. Basically looking like the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. It just looks ridiculous.
I just think like the two hands next to the waist, the bunny's crooked glasses with that awe and shock look on the mascot's face, just amazing. But anyway.
I'm waiting for people to Photoshop that for like the State of the Union addresses.
Right. And what they say, this is not your grandmother's Easter egg roll. That's from the.
What is an Easter egg roll? Is that like a
game where they try and roll the egg without cracking it?
Oh, okay.
From one end to the other.
It's not like a relay race where you gotta have like the eggs on the spoon.
No, but it's similar though. Like you don't want to crack the egg; you just try and roll it anyway.
So who's the jackass there, Trump or the bunny?
It's the damn bunny, that Easter egg bunny. Now my jackass of the week, and this guy's already had what's come to him, and I guess he had like a long-standing feud with Barstool over something, but he officially got let go from his post. And look, I don't know the guy. All right, I don't know the guy. I'm not putting him as a jackass of the week because of who he is, but it's a jackass move to do this. But Dan Bernstein out of 670 The Score, a longtime radio host in Chicago,
not familiar,
was fired because he threatened somebody and their kids to out them on Twitter because he posted a photo of a fish. And someone made fun of him and said, like, oh, this fish, blah, 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 you can't kill that. Are you an animal abuser, Dan? And then, like, he went back at them and he essentially, like, said, want to fight? I'm a bad enemy, fucker. Fuck right off. And then he also said, like, you want your kids involved? Anyway, he got let go.
Jesus.
Yeah, he got let go by 670 The Score. But, like, I don't know. You're absolutely a jackass of the week if you do anything of the kind with any listeners.
Yeah, stay off with stay out of it with kids.
Yeah,
bringing up somebody's kids is not the way to go.
No, it is not. And also saying you don't respond to trolls, but then you end up responding to said troll. Look, apparently Bernstein's kind of been like a staple in sports radio out there in Chicago, and he's very polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was that's so out of line. And now Barstool's taking a victory lap because they've been waiting for this.
There you go. Well, my policy always is just don't respond to people. Yeah. They because then they win. They get to you. And that's why I don't look at the text line. I try to look at the KNBR YouTube channel while I'm doing the show, but it's difficult sometimes. So I apologize, Tacky.
Yeah.
But yeah, no room for hate. Just whatever. Fuck them all.
Also, this kind of counts as an honorable mention, but Stephen A. just backtracking on his Bronny James.
Dude,
comment.
that was lame as shit. That was
Come on,
so
dude.
lame. Like, believe me, I don't love the calling out LeBron James tour he's doing now, where he's going on Fox News or the Weather Channel to explain what went on with him and LeBron James at the Laker game. But then to be like, I always knew that Bronny was going to be a great player. All right, you hearing me, LeBron? And you hearing me, James family? Are you hearing me, Maverick Carter? I have respect for Bronny James. Dude, it was a blowout loss. Yes, he played 30 minutes and he shot well, but he was a negative 36. Let's not act like Bronny James had a good game. It was a slow news day, and the ESPN producers wanted you to talk Bronny, and you want to walk it back. You need LeBron James as an ally. Fuck out of here, Stephen A. What are we doing?
Yep. This is their king now, man. This is the guy, the voice of ESPN.
Yeah.
Sad.
And I would also say, I said this last time, but Draymond calling out Stephen A. I thought was ridiculous too. Why do you need to get in the middle of this? I thought that the Bronny James take was fair. And I know people are like, when you're calling out LeBron James as a father, it's like he wasn't calling him out. He was just pleading to him like, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable take when you have a father that's, the perception is he's pushing this on Bronny.
Yeah.
And maybe Bronny wants this too, but I don't know. So now Stephen A. wants to act like he always knew that Bronny James was going to be a great player. Fuck out of here.
Terrible, man.
Yeah.
Terrible. Come on.
Real quick, pop culture catch up. Have you been watching anything, Stephen?
Well, we're trying to catch up on Severance. We've
okay. Let me just say, I'm not going to say anything right now with details. When you finish the season finale, let me know. It is one of the best episodes of television I have ever seen.
Oh, wow. There you go. A lot of people going crazy about it, I've noticed.
It's like an hour and 15 minutes long. It's very cinematic. And I won't give away anything, but you could either be like, the ending can make you go, yeah, or you could be frustrated because we're not going to know the answer for probably another 2 to 3 years when they have season 3.
So there's that. And then we've been catching up on the White Lotus, and everyone's
is that worth it?
I think so. I think it's interesting. Like there's a lot of symbolism behind it, and Jesse's explaining it to me, and how like this is a callback to certain things. But I don't know. I'm an idiot television viewer. Sometimes I just need like, direct. Give me something interesting on the TV. Don't give me some symbolic thing that I have to go Google search later on. Like, just give me something that I could react to in real time instead of, well, what does that mean? Let me go look it up. I don't want that. Like, that's just me. It's I don't.
No. Yeah, I'm the same way because I've learned to appreciate the movie Nope. Did you ever see Nope, the Jordan Peele movie?
Yeah.
I learned to appreciate it, but when I saw it the first time in theaters, I was like, what's going on here?
Right. That's the thing. It's like, the whole it's Hollywood and how Hollywood, whatever, all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's great that it's like that. And it's very smart. But I'm talking about me as an idiot viewer. Just give me something enticing. And quite frankly, this season of White Lotus and the last two kind of said the same thing. They're not really that crazy, although there's been a couple of twists. Like this one's, it's very well shot. It's very well done. There was a monologue by Sam Rockwell that everyone's going crazy about.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's become a meme now. It is a wild monologue, and the acting is very, very well done. But as far as like, if you're expecting like some action-packed show that happens at a hotel room, like the opening scenes are always really, really good. Like the opening scenes in each season have been tremendous, and it kind of sets the table for everything. But it's very slow, very slow. And if you're like me, you just want answers, and we're not getting any yet. And there's just more of this buildup. So I watch it because normally the buildup does pay off. I'll say that it normally pays off, but in between, it's a long watch. It takes a while.
Yeah, that's why I've been hesitant to watch that or Severance, because I feel like everybody loves it so much, and I'm very picky when it comes to shows. You got to reel me in real fast.
Yeah.
If you don't get me by the first episode, I'm probably done.
That's why I think Paradise would
Okay.
pique your interest on Hulu.
And that's on Hulu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've thought about getting around to watching White Lotus, but I don't know if that's a show that will tickle my fancy. let me ask you: do you see a lot of Walter Goggins dong in that show?
Walton Goggins, no Walton Goggins dong.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
I will say I'm a big fan of the Righteous Gemstones. Great show. I don't know if any show shows more dong in the history of television. Game of Thrones included. There is a lot of dong on Righteous Gemstones, and it's done in a comedic way, basically like the opening scene of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's there for the sake of having a dick in your face.
Yeah. There's dongs in the White Lotus, so prepare yourself.
Yeah.
But
HBO is just shoving that dong down our throat.
Yeah, there we go. They're turning a corner.
Okay, real quick, I saw the Oscar-winning movie Honora on Hulu. Have you seen it yet, Stephen?
No.
It's very good. It is very good. I'm just surprised that it won Best Picture. Acting was really good. The writing was really good. It was just very real, and the plot's kind of basic, but it's more about the character that is Honora and everything she goes through. I've seen a couple movies that this guy has done. The director, Sean Baker, I saw a movie he did, I think, a couple weekends ago called Red Rocket. And basically every movie he does is about sex workers. He wants to show their point of view, whether they're porn stars or strippers or prostitutes. And
right, that's Simon Rex, right? Red Rocket.
Yes.
Dirt nasty.
Yeah, they show a lot of dong of him in that movie too. They play like NSYNC's Bye 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 like a few times in the movie. It's a good movie. It just there's a whole love story with him and a 17-year-old girl. You're like, ugh. But Honora it's interesting. It's different. Basically, I think I described it before in previous podcasts. It's Pretty Woman meets Uncut Gems. Like it makes you feel that like uneasy sometimes with people just screaming at each other. But it was a solid flick. I'm just surprised. It might have been a slow year for movies. I just didn't see it being like a Best Picture winner, but maybe it is compared to everything else that came out this year.
Yeah. My mom, I thought, gave a really good review. It's a very good film. I was watching it with a friend, but we had to fast forward through the bits.
Even with the friend, like she was like, "This makes me uncomfortable."
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, there are gratuitous sex scenes in it. They don't add anything to the movie, but that's just comes with the territory with a movie about a stripper.
Yeah. Speaking of a lot of sex in movies, do you see what's coming to Disney Plus?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street is going to be on Disney.
Yeah, but people see the same thing happen with Poor Things. Where if you have the bundle of Hulu and Disney Plus, you're able to I guess it becomes like one stream.
Yeah.
But kids now, if you want to watch the Mickey Mouse Club, you can then, watch some tits.
There you go.
You grow up real fast when you see Leonardo DiCaprio snort coke off a stripper's ass.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got for today, Steven.
You're watching Goofy make the perfect cast in the ocean. And then all of a sudden you see Leo DiCaprio. I just did drugs, and I'm really sad that I made $53 million this year because it was one shy of $1 million a week. Whatever.
Yeah, great movie. That's all I got, Steven. Anything else you want to get into today?
Oh boy. No, I kind of covered everything. Easter egg roll, Wolf of Wall Street on Disney Plus.
Yep, all of the big things today we covered.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's going to be it for today. We will be back on Tuesday because Wednesday night I have to do the whole Giants roundtable thing in the Presidio, so that's going to be a pain in the ass to get back to the East Bay. So we're going to do everything on Tuesday night, and we're going to do a joint stream with our guy Walter Ikabalseta. We're going to do a just your pastime man, or passion for your opinion man, whatever you want to call it. We'll be having both streams going. We'll bring in Walter. We'll talk about baseball in general. We'll talk about the Giants, obviously, but we'll give our division winners and wild card teams and who we think is winning the World Series. And hopefully by that point, Aaron Rodgers signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers,
I
but
hope
we'll see
not.
about that.
I hope it's done.
What's that?
I hope it's done. I hope not. God, just get it out of here.
I know.
Aaron
I'm with
Rodgers
you.
Fire.
On that note, everybody, we will see you on Tuesday. To the skills report, to Ernie 1, to Ernie 2, to Jesse, to AJ Cruz, and to Tacky, and to fake Derek Papa. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Steven, say what you always say.
Get the loot. That's just our opinion, man.